the Mayor of Casterbridge.
Introduction.
Thomas Hardy's The Mayor of Casterbridge, published in Akertids Tabuma dit 1886, is one of his most celebrated novels, renowned for its intricate character study and exploration of fate, human flaws, and the consequences of past mistakes. Set in the fictional town of Casterbridge, based on Dorchester, Hardy's hometown, the novel delves into the life of Michael Henchard, a man who rises to prominence through sheer will, but is ultimately undone by the ghosts of his past.
Plot summary.
The novel begins with an intense dramatic scene that sets the tone for the unfolding tragedy. Michael Henchard, a young and impulsive hairdresser, enters a country fair with his wife Susan and their infant daughter Elizabeth Jane. In a moment of drunken folly and frustration, Henchard auctions off his wife and child to a passing sailor, Richard Newson. This act is the pivotal event that shapes Henchard's future. Regretting his rash decision the following morning, Henchard swears off alcohol for 21 years and sets out to find his family, but to no avail. 18 years later, Henchard has transformed his life. He has become a successful and prosperous grain merchant and the mayor of Casterbridge. Susan, believing Newson to have drowned, returns to find Henchard with Elizabeth Jane, seeking reconciliation. Henchard, eager to repair the wrongs of his past, remarries Susan and accepts Elizabeth Jane as his daughter, though he eventually discovers that his biological daughter died, and this Elizabeth Jane is Newson's child. The arrival of Donald Farfrae, a young, ambitious Scotsman, marks a turning point in Henchard's life. Initially, Farfrae becomes Henchard's manager and confidant, but Henchard's jealousy over Farfrae's success and popularity grows, ultimately leading to their estrangement. Farfrae's rise coincides with Henchard's downfall as personal and professional misfortunes compound. His grain business collapses, Susan dies, and his strained relationship with Elizabeth Jane deteriorates. As Henchard's fortunes dwindle, Farfrae rises to take his place as both the business leader and mayor of Casterbridge. Henchard, reduced to poverty and despair, attempts to reclaim his dignity, but his past sins, including the sale of his wife, return to haunt him. Newson reappears, revealing the truth about Elizabeth Jane's parentage, and Henchard's final attempt at redemption fails when he alienates the one person who still might care for him, Elizabeth Jane. The novel concludes with Henchard's lonely death in a hovel on the outskirts of town, a tragic figure undone by his flaws and past mistakes. He dies with a will that requests no mourning or honor, a reflection of the depth of his self-imposed isolation and guilt.
Themes. Fate and determinism.
One of the central themes of The Mayor of Casterbridge is the idea of fate and the inevitability of consequences. Henchard's life is marked by his impulsive decisions, particularly the sale of his wife, and Hardy's narrative suggests that these choices set the course for Henchard's eventual downfall. The novel explores the tension between free will and the idea that one's fate is predetermined, shaped by past actions.
Character flaws and redemption.
Henchard is a deeply flawed character, proud, impulsive, and often unable to control his emotions. His struggle for redemption is a central thread in the novel. Despite his attempts to atone for his past, Henchard is often his own worst enemy, sabotaging his efforts through jealousy, pride, and stubbornness. His downfall is tragic not only because of external forces, but because of his inability to overcome his flaws.
Social class and mobility.
Hardy also explores the theme of social class and mobility in the novel. Henchard rises from a lowly hairdresser to the mayor of a town, but his descent back into poverty illustrates the fragility of such success. Farfrae, by contrast, represents a new, more adaptable form of success. He is modern, practical, and unburdened by Henchard's emotional baggage. The contrast between the two men highlights the changing nature of society and success in Victorian England.
Isolation and alienation.
Henchard's life is marked by increasing isolation, both from others and from his own emotions. His relationships with Susan, Elizabeth Jane, and Farfrae all deteriorate due to his inability to communicate and connect on a deeper level. His emotional isolation is symbolized in his lonely death, where he is abandoned by all who once knew him.
Character analysis. Michael Henchard.
The protagonist of the novel, Henchard is a complex character, both tragic and compelling. His impulsive nature, deep sense of pride, and inability to control his emotions drive the narrative forward. Henchard is a character bound by his past, unable to escape the consequences of his actions, and his decline is heartbreaking because he is fully aware of his role in his downfall.
Donald Farfrae.
Farfrae is Henchard's foil, embodying the qualities Henchard lacks. He is practical, modern, and emotionally balanced. Farfrae's rise in Casterbridge highlights the transition from an older, more traditional way of life, represented by Henchard, to a newer, more progressive society.
Elizabeth Jane.
As the moral compass of the novel, Elizabeth Jane represents innocence, kindness, and resilience. Though Henchard misjudges her throughout much of the novel, her loyalty and goodness offer a sharp contrast to his flaws. Her growth from a naive young woman to someone who can stand independently is a key element of the novel's resolution.
Susan Henchard.
Susan is a passive figure in the narrative, representing the old-fashioned, subservient role of women in Hardy's society. Her role is more symbolic, embodying the consequences of Henchard's rash actions.
Writing style and structure.
Hardy's writing in The Mayor of Casterbridge is characteristic of his broader style, rich in description, dense in symbolism, and deeply connected to the landscape of Wessex. The novel's structure is tightly woven, with each event building on the last, creating an almost inevitable sense of tragic momentum. Hardy's attention to detail in describing Casterbridge and its surroundings gives the novel a sense of place that is almost as important as the characters themselves. His use of irony is also critical, particularly in how Henchard's efforts to avoid his past mistakes often lead him directly into repeating them. The novel is filled with dramatic turns and moments of emotional intensity driven by Henchard's internal struggles. The Mayor of Casterbridge is a tragic exploration of human nature, fate, and the consequences of past decisions. Michael Henchard's rise and fall serve as a powerful reminder of the fragility of success and the dangers of unchecked emotions. Hardy's nuanced portrayal of Henchard makes him one of the most memorable characters in Victorian literature, a man whose story is both heartbreaking and profoundly human. The novel's exploration of themes like fate, isolation, and social change make it a timeless work, still resonating with readers today. Hardy's ability to blend character-driven narrative with broader social commentary ensures that The Mayor of Casterbridge remains a significant contribution to English literature.